Hello guys, in this tutorial I am going to tell you about zones in Solaris 11. So what are zones? I will explain a little bit the benefit of zones, and then I will show you how to create one, then how to configure them, how to access them through the console or whatever, and then I will show you how to monitor your zones, and that's all. So okay, well, zones in Solaris are a virtualized solution to actually it works like you have like machines that work within that share the same OS kernel. So you can't actually in a zone use, for example, you're using Solaris 11 and then you would like to have a zone running on Windows. So you can't have that, or Linux. So you basically have your zone working on whether Solaris 11 or Solaris 10. Actually, Solaris 9 you can't have this. Okay, so and then zones you can like zones are independent from each other. So for example, you can use like if you use a zone to install a web server in it, so you don't run a risk that, for example, you have a fault system in your web server in that zone that's gonna affect your global zone. So when we talk about global zone, it's like the OS that you're currently using, which is dealing directly with the hardware. When you talk in Solaris about the non-global zone, which is the zone that you are going to create over the global zone. Okay, so for example, if I would like to list all my zones, I would do zone add list minus v. Oops, minus v. So here I have three zones basically, the global one and two non-global zones or zones. So a zone could be like shared or exclusive. It may have its own IP address, or it can share the same IP address with the global zone. But when you don't precise, when you just make it default, it should be exclusive IP. So if I'd like to create a zone, I would go for zone cfg, then minus z, let's say new zone. So use create to begin configuring the new zone. So create. So we have this new zone created. We would like to make some configuration in it. So okay, and then set auto boot equals true, so that when we boot our global zone system, the non-global zone system will boot automatically. Now we can add the network. So add net, we can make that net over the physical network. So here basically I'm going to attach my NIC port for that zone to the virtual NIC of the global zone. So set physical equals vnic, let's say 4. And do I have another? No, that's all. So and I can verify my configuration if it's enough to exit. Or okay, cool. So if there was a problem that should be seen, so exit. Okay, now I would like to install that the OS over my machine. I can check before my new zone. So zfs list zone adm list minus v. So I have these three zones. If I add E and C, when I say C, I can see the configured zone. So a zone can be running, or can be installed, or can be configured. So here we configured our zone, but we still didn't install the zone. So I can do zone add minus Z new zone install. So of course your system should be attached to a IPS server so that you can download and install the zone. So here, as we can see, it's installing the zone, but I have a problem here where it didn't find the VNIC 4. Of course, because I should normally create it over a ether stub, which is kind of virtual switch. So I'll just do it afterwards. Okay, great. So now we have our zone installed. We can see our zone by zone add minus ICV list, of course. So we have our new zone, which is installed. So now we would like to boot this zone. So zone add minus Z new zone boot. Okay, so again, it's showing that we don't have the VNIC 4, so let's create it. We can use dladm to show the data links. So as you guys can see, we don't have the VNIC 4, so we can do dladm create VNIC minus L to link it to the step 0. So this is the virtual switch. It's like an internal virtual switch, so that all the zones, non-global zones, can communicate with the global zone and the external world. So step 0 and VNIC 4. Okay, cool. So now if I hit dladm, I can have my VNIC 4 here. So let's again boot the new zone. So this is not showing any error so far. Of course, we can run this background if we type end or address symbol after the command. Okay, cool. So now if I would like to log into the zone, I would type zlogin new zone, connected to zone. So now I have my zone created, installed, and I'm booted in the zone and logged in. So if I type dladm here, I can have this VNIC 4, which is linked to the physical port. Okay, so now I'd like to configure all the profile. So I would type, when you guys would like to leave to exit actually the zone, you can just type tilde and dot. Okay, so I would like to connect to the console to edit the profile for the zone. So basically z login minus c and new zone. So I'm connected to the console here. Okay, so now I have the system configuration profile, so SC profile. I can type F2 to continue, computer name or host name, so this new zone. I would like to configure manually, so VNIC 4 IP address, let's say 192.168.195. Alright, do not configure, none. Okay, so Africa, Tunisia. Okay, no default. Root password. So you guys have to type a password. So okay, if I choose not to enter a username here, because I have the choice to not to add a user. So if I add a user, the root will be a role. So it's not an account, it's a role. But if I add a user, but if I choose not to add the user, then they won't be a user except the root. So if I add the user, I will have a root as a role for that user. If I don't add the user, I will have an account root, like the previous versions of Solaris or other Linux or Unix distributions. So here I'm going to to add a user so that this user is gonna have the root privilege role. So username Oracle. Okay. So SC profile successfully generated. Okay, so now I have the access to the console. Though I don't need to access to the console. So let's see our zones. So zone add list minus ICV, and now I have all my zones running. Okay, cool. So now I'd like to do some monitoring for my zones. So I do zone cfg minus r summary, and here I would like to have a summary every, let's say, 5 seconds. Zone cfg. What's wrong? Oops, zone stat. Sorry about this. Okay, so now I have this zone newly created, which is using this amount of physical memory, and here what is it's using as virtual memory. So basically the difference is that physical memory is just the RAM memory. When we say virtual memory, it's the RAM plus the swap. And here physical net is the amount of how much it is using in percentage of the network. And here is the CPU usage. So here we can have values that are more than 1. I mean, here more than 1 means more than 100% actually, because the 100% represent just one CPU, whereas we have many CPUs. So here, for example, we have 12 CPUs activated among 128. Okay, so I would like, for example, to make a limit for a zone in terms of memory. So I would like this zone here not to exceed, for example, 200 megabytes. So zone cfg minus z new zone. Okay, so here you have a bunch of commands. As I would like to add a limit to the physical memory, I would use add capped memory. So now I can set physical, let's say 200 megabytes. You actually can choose something, but you can't exceed, you can't set the physical memory under 1 megabyte. I mean, it's not very useful, but set swap, let's say 100 max, set locked 3 megabytes. You can't put this more than the physical. Verify. Okay, cool. Exit. So now these newly set, we would like to see the newly set configuration. So we can do zone cfg minus z new zone info. So we have our capped memory, physical 200 meg, swap, locked. Okay, so you have other parameters here for the net. So here it says physical vnic 4. So here you can have a host ID different than your global zone. Here it means that it's the same than as the global zone one. Auto boot you have true, so whenever you boot your global zone, the zone is gonna boot as well automatically. Here brand, we call branded zone when we have a zone which uses a different kernel than the global zone. So for example, if we have a Solaris 10 zone over a Solaris 11 global zone, it's called the branded zone. Okay, so now we said that in order to have the the parameters newly set, we need to reboot the zone. So we can do this by doing z zone add minus z new zone reboot. Okay, so let's see our zones. Zone stat minus zone stat minus r summary 5. So we have our new zone that doesn't exceed the physical memory nor the virtual memory. So now I'm logged in the zone. I would like to check the capped size of the memory. So I would do prtconf. So it shows me that there is 200 megs. Okay, I would like to check also the swap. So I would type df minus h, not enough space. Okay, so I think we have exceeded the space that enables us to execute this command. Okay, so we have swap 100 megs and used 100 megs, so actually we used all the space, so we couldn't see it at first. Okay, cool. So thank you very much for watching and have a nice evening.